All right, Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahashum, Yahweh Shah Bahashum Rakakudash. I want to give double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well, and grace and peace to you elect around the four winds, believing and pushing this truth in all sincerity. May the blessing of election be upon your houses. This is your fellow servant, Rokoya from the GMS Orlando camp, coming at you with another impromptu lesson. This is a reload. The last live stream got bombarded by bots, AI, which that ain't gonna stop nothing through the spirit. We're gonna keep it trucking through the spirit, man. But the title of this lesson is The Conversation Has Changed. And the inspiration for this lesson comes from, what I've been observing, throughout these past couple of weeks, as I've worked around my coworkers, which I work around a lot of Jakes, a lot of Negroes and so-called Hispanics, in times past the conversation was regular, Jake conversation, sports, entertainment, celebrity bullshit, conversations of the world, women, but now these past couple of weeks, the conversation has changed, and I've honestly have not heard anything come out of their mouth that isn't pertaining to prophecy, which they don't know is prophecy, of course, but indirectly they're speaking about prophecy. Today the conversation at the job site was the closing of the Strait of Hormuz and how that's going to impact um, prices here in America concerning gas, and how that is going to trickle down into potentially a famine. Earlier this week, the conversation was amongst Jake was, the conflicts that's taking place in Iran, and what's been happening over there in Ukraine, and the war that's been taking place between the Ukrainians and the Russians, and how a lot of the older generation of those Ukrainians has already died off, and they're now seeking to fill those spots with the next generation of Ukrainians, which is why they're drafting younger and younger men, and how that potentially can be coming here to America. That's been the whole conversation. These past couple of days, it's been nothing but indirect prophecy coming out of Jake's mouth. And it's just a testament, to the Lord making a name for himself once again. As I was meditating on it, this precept came to mind. This is Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 12, and verse 17. It says, "For when men will not believe that thou art of full power, thou shewest thy strength, and among them that know it, thou makest their boldness manifest." For a long period in time, men didn't believe that the Lord was of a full power, that the word of the Lord was of full power. They didn't believe in the prophecy. They didn't believe in what's written. But now we're living in the day and age to where what's written is now a reality, and there's no way to escape it. There's no way to escape Revelation 13 and 16. There's no way to escape Revelation 11, starting at verse 13, regarding the third woe. There's no way to escape these prophecies. Famine, earthquakes in diverse places, wars and rumors of wars, the love of many waxing cold, and we can keep going on for ages. There's no way to avoid these prophecies anymore. At one point in time, the Lord had it to where people could delve in their different vices and different entertainment aspects to kind of, steer their mind from prophecy. But now there's no other way out. You are forced, you are forced into the reality that is prophecy, man. The Lord has caused the whole conversation in the earth itself to change. Nowadays, the prime topic in the earth is the Hebrew Israelites, alongside World War III and that RFID microchip. You got these different economic forecasters and politicians now starting to use the same talking points that brothers and our elders and apostles have been using for years. And this is no coincidence. This is the Lord making a name for himself once again, as he said he would. This is the Lord showing that he is of a full power and that he is the dictator of reality. The Lord has power over this reality. This is the Lord showing that, man. The whole conversation in the earth has changed. You have some Jakes who are still in La La Land, but for the most part, especially amongst these politicians, these different economic forecasters amongst Esau, Edom, these different intellectuals of even Jake are now starting to use the same talking points that brothers have been using, and everybody's starting to delve into the Bible a little bit more. And why is that? Because prophecy is taking place. The words that our elders apostles and their elders apostles, and brothers have been speaking for years are now starting to make sense. The power of the Lord, the word of the Lord is starting to make sense. The men who once, at one point in time, seemed crazy are now starting to look like the most sane people in the earth. Just like Noah in his time. The Lord said it would be like as in the days of Noah. They ate, they drank, they were married, they were given wives, they were marrying until the flood came. And we're in that very same time period to where niggas are marrying, they're giving them marriage, they're in all types of bliss, but the Lord is slowly shaking them out of it, through the fulfillment of prophecy. But again, Wisdom of Solomon 12:17 reads as such, for when men will not believe that thou art of a full power, then thou showest thy strength. And among them that know it, thou makest their boldness manifest. And the boldness of the Lord's men is now manifesting. The men who have been on the front lines, week in and week out, year in and year out. And boldness is starting to manifest. Why our elders and apostles and their elders did such a diligent search, alongside brothers. Why they did such a diligent search. Why brothers stand so stiffly for the name of the Lord, week in and week out, in season and out of season. Why brothers are giving their bodies as a living sacrifice, and turning adverse to the course of this world. Now that boldness is starting to manifest. And as that boldness starts to manifest within the Lord's men, the Lord himself is being glorified. Because the Lord's men we're giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai. This word that we've been commissioned to teach isn't of us. It's of the full glory of Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai, man. And the biggest I told you so is happening. It's not coming, it's happening in the earth right now. The Lord told you these things will happen. The Lord told us how he would take down his kingdom and raise us up. The Lord told us the very same things that we're living out today. He told us. The biggest I told you so is happening right now in each and every one of our lives, man. And it's only going to get greater from here on out. Because the Lord told Esau he was going to destroy him and his kingdom. And the Lord told his elect that he would deliver them out of the midst of that judgment. And we're coming upon that final judgment of Esau, Edom. Brothers were getting into it briefly at camp yesterday. World War III is imminent. It's closer than it's ever been. And as a caveat, World War III and the Mark of the Beast are two prophecies that are very close together. They're linked together. Because just as soon as that RFID microchip is implemented, World War III is going to commence. So as we see these different skirmishes and these wars and rumors of wars taking place and America's allies separating themselves, the beast hating the whore, as the scriptures say, as we see this taking place, we understand also on the back end that the RFID microchip, or the prophecy in Revelation 13 and 16, is etching closer and closer as well. So the Lord has this devil in the trick bag, man. There's nowhere else he can run. There's nowhere else, he could turn to. This is his reality, which is imminent destruction. And that's the conversation in the earth. The conversation in the earth is about Edom's downfall. It's the conversation amongst them, his Edomite counterparts, them Russians, all right, Moab, the Chinese, the Persians, all right. This is all the earth is talking about right now. It's the downfall of Esau, Edom. The conversation has changed. No one is regarding Babylon as that golden city. They're starting to see it for the whore it truly is. The conversation amongst these Egyptians, these Americans, is changing. Nobody's trusting in this government anymore. America's divided, and a kingdom divided cannot stand. Thus saith the Lord. We're in that time, man, where the conversation has changed, and it's changed drastically. And I've seen it personally myself, just amongst the jakes that I work around. Complete niggas. 2/3 niggas, but out of their mouth these past couple of weeks has been nothing but prophecy. And the reason being is because the Lord is forcing these people into reality. There's nothing else to talk about. Everyone's lives is literally being shaped around what's taking place worldwide. And as everybody's lives are changing, questions are starting to be asked. And who has the answers to those questions? Come on. The Lord's prophets. The pastors, like it says in Jeremiah 3:15, that the Lord has sent according to his heart. The messengers, like it says in Amos, the 3rd chapter. His servants, the prophets, who have been given the vision, the breakdown of the vision. These are the men that these people are now starting to seek to in these latter days. And, you know, they better seek while the seeking is good. Because the Lord is going to get ready to shut this off too. This whole internet, this whole ordeal with the internet is getting ready to get shut the fuck down. Because it's been a great tool when it comes to exposing Esau, Edom, and his wickedness. And also when it comes to spreading the truth of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua in the Bible and the gospel. It's been a great tool it's been a great adversary, to Esau, Edom's kingdom and his witchcraft. But, with that being said, Lord, is edifying unto you. Just wanted to come with that quick, impromptu lesson. Just something I was thinking about. Lord, when is edifying unto you. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Ba'ashem Rakakudash, and double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. Grace and peace to you, elect around the four winds, believing and pushing this truth in all sincerity. May the blessing of election be upon your houses. Shalom. Stay up.